It doesn't matter the name or the movement behind the person, a human life was lost. And it's crazy that a human life was lost that wanted this sort of freedom for guns. But the thing is, he could have been anybody. Like, we have stuff about this every single day. He could have been, and it could have been anyone. It could have been some Democrat, it could have been a Republican, it could have been a socialist. At the end of the day, we need gun laws.
Well, regardless of political affiliation, it's a tragedy. And unfortunately, this is a potential defining moment, and people have to rally around the issue of violence that, again, regardless of political party, this won't stand. And unfortunately, a family is going to be mourned.
I think, irregardless of the political stance, it's a pretty horrific deal. He was a father, right, a husband, and now 2 little kids and a wife have to be without a husband and a father. I think that's pretty sad. And then jumping into the political realm of it, from a conservative perspective, he was one of the more non-confrontational political influencers who was willing to accept and I would say debate effectively with people from opposing views.
I think it's really unfortunate something like that happened here in the U.S. It's the place for freedom and political freedom, and there's no way, regardless of which side you're on, this is not something that we should appreciate, and it's really tragic. I don't like to associate myself with any political views. I just think it doesn't matter if somebody has their own political views, and we should respect each other's political views regardless of who we vote for. And it's just it's tragic to see something like this happen.
I think it's deeply saddening that folks are targeted. I can't speak that he was targeted, but it's deeply saddening. There are so many people who have spoken against somebody else. It makes me sad because it makes me really appreciate or wonder for the rest of us who aren't him. So when's our number come up? I mean, that's a horrible thing to say, right? That's just a really sad thing to say. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but it makes me sad. It really does.
There comes the understanding that gun violence is a huge part to play in this. And I think one of the bigger things about it is it's ironic in the sense that he did say that some deaths are necessary for the Second Amendment, right? Now, I will not condone this behavior, because at the end of the day, if you really are pro-life, any death is tragic. If you really are pro-choice, anyone who loses the ability to have choice, and that's taken away from them, that goes against both sides.
I've been following Charlie Kirk for many, many years now, and I agreed with 90% of the things he would say. Even just recently, met up with a friend, was telling him about all the good things Charlie's been doing. And yeah, hearing the news today, just hearing it made me sick to my stomach. Very sad. I felt like Charlie was such a good person and shared so many good morals and things like I do. It almost felt like losing a family member. It was very sad. And then seeing the video was even more heartbreaking.
Not a fan of the dude whatsoever, but violence is never the answer, and the country's very divided. I hope somehow we can come together from all of this.
I did not know much of him, to be honest with you. I know only what would be reported or shown in media. But nobody deserves to die like that. They really don't.
It doesn't matter the name or the movement behind the person, a human life was lost. And it's crazy that a human life was lost that wanted this sort of freedom for guns. But the thing is, he could have been anybody. We have stuff about this every single day. He could have been, and it could have been anyone. It could have been some Democrat, it could have been a Republican, it could have been a socialist. At the end of the day, we need gun laws. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah, no, absolutely, the right to bear arms to defend yourself, but they need to refine that. If you can't refine it, then you have situations like this where it's open interpreted enough that so much is allowed to happen.
He had a lot of things that people would consider divisive, but at the same time, you know, what our country was founded on is being able to speak freely, and then engage in that debate. Because without debate and rational talking to one another, that's where you lose common ground. Charlie Kirk, especially with all the media coverage and how popular he had become, I feel like there's more people that like him, even on both sides, that this is probably going to be a wake-up call for a lot of people.
I like to read a lot of things as far as current affairs, geopolitics, and what I've noticed, at least, there's a disconnect between what you read online and what you actually see and hear when you talk to people on the street. People tend to be very kind and open-minded, even when they don't agree with each other on the street, but they can be very disjointed and talking amongst themselves in echo chambers when they're behind the keyboard. And I think if we don't address that, at least in a way that's that has the ability to make everybody's environment more cohesive and forgiving, it'll be a difficult thing to overcome.
I didn't agree with his work, but the one thing I will say is it takes a hell of a lot of conviction to go out there and say things like he does, these statements that have so much behind it. It requires a lot of confidence and conviction to say things you believe wholeheartedly. And so at the end of the day, it's both sides have people like that who believe so definitely. And so at the end of the day, if you're on the opposing side or you're on the same side, you got to ask yourself, what would you really think if it was somebody else? If you replaced that name with somebody on the opposing side. So for me, I like to imagine, what if instead of Charlie Kirk, it was Bernie Sanders? All of a sudden, that means more to me. And that's what I think a lot of people forget, is they become so easy. Well, it's this dude and I don't like him. Put any other name there that matters to you and then see how it feels.